If I haven't made it clear enough, composting is extremely important. However, similar to recycling, it's only so important or valuable to a certain extent. That extent being if it can be done properly. If you try to compost items that can't be broken down quickly and easily, there can be a number of problems. Often those problems include just like a bad smelling compost, but another example is if you're trying to compost something like plastic that you think is compostable but isn't, which I think is kind of obvious, plastic is not compostable, it would take centuries to biodegrade and break down. Therefore, it is the equivalent to littering. It is not helping the planet, and it will not help plants later on. Plastic is also an item that produces tons of carbon emissions in the process of breaking down. There are also a lot of things that technically can be broken down, but I suggest against trying to do that. Here are 10 items that I don't really suggest you try to compost. It just won't work as well. So at number 1, we have meat. This is kind of gross, but I was just thinking like human bodies break down, so meat should too, right? Most meat and fish can break down. However, they take a lot longer than a lot of the other items that are going to be in your compost bin. And because of this, they easily attract rodents and stray or wild animals, and they also produce a really gross smell. So because of this, if you plan to buy animal products, such as meat, it is extremely important to plan to consume all of it. This way they don't have to go to waste and they won't go bad. And like I always say, besides, if you're gonna go through the process of all the fossil fuels that need to get produced to get the animal onto your plate, the bare minimum you can do is not waste it. At number 2, we have dairy. Similar to meat, dairy attracts wild animals as well. For this reason, it is again better to consume the product before it even needs to be composted or thrown out. These unwanted animals that might show up are not so great because they can destroy your compost and make it less nutritious, actually. So again, technically speaking, dairy products can go in the compost. Do I suggest it? No. At this point, I think it's pretty safe to say you should just go vegan. At number 3, we have flour or rice. And to avoid being repetitive, I'm just gonna be repetitive and say it again. I'm gonna avoid going into huge detail because simply put, flour and rice and certain grains, such as bread, pasta, pastries, all attract wild animals. The last item on the list of things that attract wild animals pretty well is oil. And this will just finish the pattern of products that will make your compost smell. I just want to make a big point of the fact that all these things make your compost smell because you're not supposed to compost them. And if you have a local compost, I don't know, the rules might be different for you, so obviously check with them. I guess I am referring mainly to backyard composting if that's what I do. I wanted to make this a point because so many people that I know that don't compost don't do it because they think it smells. And the main reason why it smells is because you're doing it improperly. If you do it correctly, the animals won't attack you. At number 5, I'm going to be talking about walnuts. Walnuts are the last food on my list. And yes, they might just seem like another food or plant, but they actually contain something called juglone. I think that's how, I have no clue if that's how you say it. But juglone is toxic to a number of plants, and especially foods like tomatoes, potatoes, peppers, eggplant, as well as asparagus, cabbage, peas, and rhubarb. So therefore, if you were using this compost in a garden, it would not be so great to plant vegetables with. And that's pretty much the main purpose of compost. So keep an eye out for foods with juglone, I don't know how you say it, mainly walnuts. At number 6, we have weeds with seeds. Hey, that rhymed. If you have weeds, they're generally totally fine to compost. However, if your weeds still have seeds in them, and you try to compost them, they could actually end up growing weeds in your compost. And therefore, you'll have a much bigger weed problem. It's just a little tip that can happen, I guess. According to my research. At number 7, we have ash and candles. So mainly coal ash, for example charcoal, is often treated with chemicals that do not belong in a compost bin. If you have something like all natural wood charcoal, that is fine, but on the other hand, most candles are made with paraffin wax, which due to the fact that it's a petroleum-based product, it cannot be composted. Beeswax is another type of wax that is in a number of products, and it can be put in a compost bin, but like many other things, it takes a long time to break down. At number 8, we have conventional makeup and beauty products. So wipes, whether they're flushable or not, cotton balls, or makeup itself that is not made from all natural ingredients should not be composted. I think that makes sense. Like, there are going to be chemicals and products within them that could harm your plants, and unfortunately they are better off in the trash. At number 9, we have synthetically coated paper. So dyes and inks on paper, let alone the plastic or wax coating, for example on a milk box, should not be composted. This is because those coatings are made with toxic chemicals. I really suggest that you just use coated paper to the max of its usage. Does that make any sense? If you want to try shredding it to make like cat litter, do people still do that? Like with newspaper? I think you can compost newspaper though. I just don't suggest that you throw it in the compost for your garden. Okay, and lastly at number 10 we have soap. I don't know if anyone's ever tried to compost soap or like half these items on this list, but now you know some fun facts. I don't recommend trying to compost soap unless it's labeled compostable or biodegradable or fully natural or all those things. For example, something like a nut soap or a soap nut. Yeah, those are fine, but that's because those are a plant rather than a soap that's made in a factory. I really suggest just finding barred soap, using all of it, and therefore having no need to compost or throw away any of it. If you have any slivers of bars left, you can either do one of two things. You could either take a sliver of soap and rub it into a full bar and it will stick together, or you could try doing what I did and cut up your soap and actually dissolve your soap into a liquid and make your own DIY liquid soap. Both of those are better than having soap waste, because soap is valuable, obviously it's consumable. So I hope this video was somewhat helpful. I hope it taught you something new. Composting is still obviously one of the best ways to help save the planet, but will not work if you do it by itself. I'd be happy to make another one of these videos. If you have any ideas of things that people think might be compostable, then leave them in the comment section below. If you made it this far, like and subscribe and share the video. Alright, I hope you all have a good day, and I will see you all next time. For now, peace.